Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video on my YouTube channel, mathijsmerksracing. And in this video, as you see on screen, I'm on Circuit de Landsard for a trainingsday in preparation of the 7th round of the Dutch ProKart Championship. And as always, I'm with the MS ProKart team. So, stint 1. The goal is to get a feel for the track and determine the tire pressures, as this is the first thing to start with on a trainingsday in preparation for a race day. It was pretty cold this day and it had rained a lot overnight, which was visible due to the wet patches. So I try to estimate how much grip there is on track on this moment. I always do this when I go on track for the first time on a trainingsday. Even when the tires are cold, it's always worth to estimate it. This to not make any stupid mistakes in the beginning of a trainingsday, as it sets you back so far if you crash or have mechanical problems. So after a few laps of warming up the tires and getting into a rhythm, it was time to follow the drivers in front and to see what the raw pace was like this day. And, if possible, learn. So, this track, Circuit de Landsard, is my home track and it's also the weirdest in the country, in my opinion. Let me clarify myself. So, Sector 1 is basically 3 times a straight ending with a hairpin, which is pretty boring if you ask me. Sector 2 was this fast left-hander and this random upcoming chicane. Sector 3 is called the Mickey Mouse because of the slow follow-up, especially in 2-stroke karting. In 4-stroke karting is pretty fun as you have to be smooth and really have to flow through the corners. As you can probably guess, I don't like this track at all. So let me take you on a full lap on Circuit de Landsard. Turn 1 is a fast 90-degree right-hander with a little banking, followed by the longest straight on this track. Turn 2 is a sharp 150-degree hairpin. So, turn 3 is a more rounded hairpin, which is 180 degree, followed by turn 4, again a hairpin, but this one is the smallest and sharpest one yet, and a little bank. Turn 5 is a fast 90 degree left-hander, which is flat, followed by turn 6, a fast chicane, which is also flat. Turn 7 and 8 are just 2 semi-fast 90 degree right-handers, followed by some slower 90 degree left-handers. At the end, again, slower right-handers, and this follows up in a faster right-hander and a faster left-hander to finish a lap on Circuit de Landsard. So the end of stint 1, best time a 55:13, which is alright, especially knowing that the setup still had to be determined.
Hè? Op zich wel oké. Ja. Hij stuurt een stuk beter in, dus dat rechtzetten van het chassis heeft wel een hoop geholpen. Blokken zijn op zich prima nu. Alleen dat hard aanremmen, joh. Je kunt niet tot de max gaan, want dan in één keer... Op zich zitten we er best goed bij, denk ik.
Ik hoop het.
Ah, een paar foutjes. Ik stuur daar te vroeg in bij die hairpin, waardoor ik niet uitkom. En die bij 4 is kut. Het is lang wachten, dan pas insturen. Je wil voor je gevoel sneller en dan kom je te haaks uit en dan breekt die weg achter.
Zo'n beetje laat epen.
Ja, laat epen, ja.
Stint 2. Goal: analyze if the changed tire pressures work. Short answer, yes, it did work. Just look how much more grip I have going into the corner, but also exiting the corner. So now it was time to continue to determine the setup. As you saw, within this corner the front end is still not biting hard enough. The front width was based on the last round of the Dutch ProKart Championship, which was a wet race. Let's have a look. Which means that the front width was still set to wide, which creates a lot of understeer. So this would be the next setup change. So within stint 2 I also kept improving my lap time. Let's analyze Circuit de Landsard. The steering input is where the triangle starts on the left hand side. Important to steer the nose in the late apex and hug the curb on the right hand side, as the corner is a little bit banked and it helps you rotate through. After the longest straight on this track, it's time for turn 2. Braking spot just before this sign on the right hand side. Make sure to brake hard in a straight line. Why? Because in this way the brake can use its maximum capacity and it keeps the go-kart stabilized, which makes it easier to control. Brake hard after the sign on the right hand side again. Try to wait long to steer into the right corner. This way the minimal corner speed is higher due to a less sharp steering angle. Just look at the steering wheel, it's almost straight. It also reduces the scrub of the tire on the front end. Get over to the right side as quick as possible. Now brake tap in a straight line again. This helps with the rotating. Try to wait long for a late apex. Also short the rotation. Not like this though, but it's just a setup thing. Wait for it. So, within this fast left-hander, try the shortest line over the curb and stay under the rubber to maximize the cornering speed and grip available. This chicane is all about commitment. A little use of this curb will help favor a better angle into the last part of this chicane and maximize the cornering speed that's possible. The next upcoming corners are all about flow and maximize horizontal grip in relation to steer angle, or basically how fast can you go through the corner without the kart either braking out on the rear outside tire or understeer on the front outside tire. Both are bad, but give you a clear understanding about what the limit of the kart is within this specific situation or setup. So this left kink is so important as you want to set up for the last slow corner on this track before the start finish line and the end of the lap. Now it's all about keeping the speed high and don't use too many steer and slip angle, because this leads to the kart slowing down due to the friction from the tires with the tarmac. As I was still lowering my times, it was the end of stint 2 with a best time of 53.7. Stint 3, goal, analyze if the smaller front width creates more bite. As our team did some setup changes, I want to know what our pace was like opposed to our rivals. So I point them through and tried to follow them. And pretty soon it was clear that there was still some pace lacking. And that another setup change was definitely needed to close that gap. So on this point I was pretty annoyed that the pace was lacking so much that I started over pushing, but this made it only worse. The front end just didn't want to bite at all. Just look at it. Understeer corner entry, oversteer corner exit. Still some work to do. So at the end of this lap it was time to come into the pits and make these setup changes. End of stint 3 with a best time of 53.52. Stint 4, goal, analyze if the front torsion bar creates more bite. Short answer, yes. Just look at those times. So this was my fastest lap of the day to close this trainings day in preparation of the last race of the season. And of course, I improved. End of stint 4 with a best time of a 52.83. Race day, and it's the last round of the Dutch ProKart Championship. Round 7 on circuit de Landsard. Qualification P20 out of the 52 teams overall, which is alright, especially knowing that our tire pressures got a little bit too high at the end of the qualification. So I would start the race and let's see how that went. This driver in front had spun out, which meant starting at the back of the grid, but instead everyone got held up, which was pretty annoying as I wanted to arm up my tires properly. The tension was rising as it's the last round within this championship and it was time to lock in and finish this season on a high. So let's work our way to 5 red lights and away we go. And I have a good initial start of the line as I immediately overtake the driver on the right hand side. I'm now on the inside for turn 1, which is ideal. But I touch the driver in front and I'm now out of the power band, which makes me vulnerable for this long straight. Just look on the left hand side. I need to cover the inside line as I have to defend my position. I'm still in the same position now, so let's get into the train and work our way forward. I was too slow through this left-hander, lost some time to the group in front, which is definitely not ideal. Saw it coming, but no reason to fight hard yet, especially in this part of the race. So on this point I lost a lot of ground. I was just too cautious to not make any mistakes, but this cost me a lot. This in combination with everything that was going on within my private life made that I was just slow. Both physically and mentally I was just so exhausted, but let's see how competitive I can be on my lowest. Despite it's the beginning of the race, I already need to defend a lot to not lose any more positions. After a few laps I lost touch and got overtaken again, which was so frustrating. The driver behind goes for a dive bomb, but I saw it coming, switched back and I kept my position. After a while I got into a rhythm again and kept improving my lap times and closed the gap to the driver in front and did go for a move. And it worked. as I did overtake. So this driver in front spun out and that let me gain a position. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So this is so annoying as the pace is almost the same and all the switching around costs so much time and increase the risk on crashing or have mechanical issues. So early in the race I already was lapping a lot of drivers on this point and this was the best one yet. Followed my instinct and ran for it through the middle. A little later I caught up to a driver again and let's see if I can overtake him as well.
Get over here!
So I did go for it in the same corner as I did my last overtake and it worked. After some short while I got overtaken by this driver again. And it got a little bit too close for comfort, as you see on screen. Neither was willing to give up this corner and it was hard but fair fighting. And I used one of the oldest tricks in the book within endurance racing. I used lap traffic to overtake.
Easy!
And again, I get overtaken within the hairpin by this driver, but also by another driver, as it's my weak spot for sure. And I have to do something about it for next season and races in the future to come. So, something very important within endurance racing is making quick work of lapped traffic, as it can hold you up a lot. And one of the fastest drivers on track on that moment came past by, and it gives me the opportunity to overtake the driver on the left hand side, as this driver can't defend the inside line. So I put my hand up in the air as I will pit this lap, and it was one of my worst stints within this season, as I was at least 2 to 5 tenths off the pace. So now it was time for my teammate to take over. Our team lost 17 places due to the pitting, which is a lot, which means the field of drivers are close to each other. Our team did an early stop as just too slow. I know the reason behind it, but I keep that for myself. So this is a great example of working together with faster drivers on track to make your way through lap traffic. Just look at it. Every time the driver in front is going for a move, my teammate followed him through. And that's just the way to do it. It's just so cool to see that every driver has his preferable overtaking places on a track, as my teammates' places are different than mine. So at the end of my teammate's stint, it was P18 out of the 52 teams overall, which is great, but again a crash ruined our race. Within the start of my other teammate, the rear axle bent due to a crash. And this was enough to ruin our race. Also, at the end of the race, one of the wheels broke within my teammate's stint, so it didn't matter anyway. This season is just so incredibly frustrating. At the end it was P40 out of the 52 teams overall. And if you don't want to miss anything, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment down below. And I hope to see everyone, and especially you, next time. Bye!